Back at it again. So, this week episode is going to be on mythology. Before I get into that, I just want to say I don't always do episodes every week, anything like that. So I'm not money driven or nothing like that. I do it for the joy of it, because I really do have a passion for just using my voice, just being a narrator of my experience. That's what I truly do it for. And I don't know if it was in my last episode, whether it was in my last episode or not, I do want to state this. I mentioned in a episode that if my purpose changed, I would say what it has become. And it has to be something greater, which it is. So my purpose started off as wanting peace, wanting clarity. And I dug deeper within knowing thyself and discovered that it's really healing that I yearn for, and really defines my purpose. So my purpose is to heal myself, because if I don't heal myself, how can I expect to heal anyone else surrounding me or anyone that I reach out to? So yeah, that's just an update and just how I'm developing, how I'm constantly evolving in life. So moving forward, the reason why I want to talk about mythology, because it's going to lead me in some other episodes that I've been said I was going to talk about. And I know you all, it's like, all right, you said you was going to talk about this, you was going to talk about that, you ain't talked about it yet. So I'm doing the build up and I'm going to start with mythology. So mythology is very similar to religion. The only difference is the definition I'm going to give you all. So I'm going to give y'all Google definition before I give y'all my definition, because I don't want people to say, oh, you ignorant, you don't know what mythology is. Just because my experience is different from yours doesn't disqualify my point of view of mythology. So I do want to start off by giving a Google definition. So just in case y'all say, oh, you don't know it. Yes, I do. Just know that I don't regurgitate. I speak from my experience, not someone else's. Because to be honest, this definition is from someone else's experience, someone else's knowledge. But I'm still going to give it to you all anyway, just for the sake of it. So, mythology is a collection of myths, especially one belonging to a particular religious or cultural tradition. So, just in case y'all missed it, that's where religion and mythology is similar at, religious-wise. But this is where they differ, culture. So, and even in religion, there's different cultural backgrounds involved. But I don't want to too much talk about religion in this episode, because I'm going to have a whole different segment on religion alone. So I am going to talk about it a little bit to kind of say how it ties in with mythology. But my main focus and my main point of this video is to, not video, but audio, is to define what mythology is from my experience. So, another terminology, or synonym rather, of mythology is tradition or stories. So I'm going to start with religion. I might as well, because that's the first one that came to my mind. So how does religion ties in with mythology? The stories behind religion. And when I say religion, I'm talking about religion as a whole, not one particular branch. But I can break it down. For example, Islam have their own story. Christianity have its own story. Buddhism, own story. Hinduism, own story. Confucius, own story. So there's different stories. Now, some of these stories can have similarities, which I find all of them too have similarities rather. And I discovered that through taking a course during summer school in college. I took world religion, and that gave me a different perspective. But like I said, I'm not going to dig deep in religion. Y'all already know why. I don't want to keep repeating myself. So I'm just going to move forward and say that is the equivalence to mythology. That's how they tie in to each other. So the second part of mythology is just not religion, cultures. And that's the part I really want to touch on. Now, there was something that I discovered. Let me see, can I pull it up? Because it ties in with mythology. Hopefully it's in here. Because I usually have just stuff I would randomly come by. And every time I do like an episode, I'm like, wow, that ties into what I'm talking about. So I know it's somewhere in here. Okay, let me see. So there was a video on YouTube. I don't know the guy's name, but I know the YouTube channel is called Truth Unedited. And the guy on there, he mentioned something on one of his videos called The Great Set. That's the name of the video. Hold on. I don't want to skip it. Truth Unedited. That's his YouTube channel name. I don't know his name in particular. I just know the YouTube channel. So, okay, I'm looking at the screenshots that I got in here, but there's one particular thing that I want to read off to you all. This might be it. If not, I'm going to tie it in with mythology. So, the word that he pointed out was ignorant. And he gave his perspective of it, which is lacking knowledge or awareness in general. So, he gave an example. Of, I guess, him trying to talk to someone. So, I'm just going to read this off and tie it in with mythology. So the person he was talking to replied to him and said, I wish I had what he said to this person. But okay, we can figure it out as we go. We're going to figure this out together. So, I don't need to know about all the world's agendas because there is nothing that I can do about it. That is so accurate. So many people say, I don't want to hear that. That don't got nothing to do with me. Or that's just that's a conspiracy theory. Now with mythology, like I said, another term for mythology is tradition and stories. So there's a lot of stories that a lot of people debunk because they be like, oh, that's not real. And they don't know the definition of real. To be real is to be practical. To be practical is to be active. If it's active, you can't debunk that and say, oh, that's false. How is it false when there's a whole reality attached to it? Please explain that. False is within the illusion, within the mind. Once it comes out of the mind into play, into what you can actually see it, and a pattern in someone's behavior, that's when it becomes real. That's when it becomes practical. That's when actions is involved. So, a lot of people say what this person says. I don't need to hear about all the world agendas. And I'm quite sure y'all know what some agendas are. Like the agenda behind the whole pandemic. The agenda behind the vaccines. Stuff like that. A lot of people like, I don't want to hear that. That don't got nothing to do with me. Now let me read his reply to what the woman said. So I'm going to read what she said again, and I'm going to read his reply. Just in case anyone missed it. So, I don't need to know about all the world agendas because there is nothing that I can do about it. Here's his reply. I vehemently disagree. that her preparations should be different and that she doesn't need to know. Let me read that again to make sure I read that right. I vehemently disagree that her preparations should be different and that she doesn't need to know. Got it. So basically what he's saying is preparation, whether you want to agree with it or not, you want to make preparations. That way you won't be in doubt. What if? Woulda, coulda, shoulda. For example, I mentioned the vaccines. Whether I feel if it's going to be forced or not, at least I can make the preparation to fight back just in case they do try to force it onto me. If they don't, I can keep moving on with my life. Either way, I already made preparations. I'm already prepared for the better or worse. Preparation is key. And that's what a lot of people fail to realize. Instead of, because to be quite honest, we waste time when we say something is true, something is not. What? Okay, how can I put this? We waste a lot of time. Instead of looking at both ends of the stick, looking at the whole stick for what it is, you just want to look at one part. For example, people will be like, only look at the good in the situation. If you only look at the good in the situation, how can you prepare for the worst? You see how half-sighted that is? And then a lot of people can wonder why they get blindsided in certain situations. And this ties in with mythology because these are stories being passed down. These people are not being ignorant just to be ignorant. Some people are ignorant because it was installed in them. Their mothers was like this. Their fathers was like this. Their greats were like this. So these are stories being passed down. I'm going to just make up something right quick. Let's say if my grandmother was against getting the vaccine. Matter of fact, what if she was for it? Because her great-grandmother took it. Her mother's mother took it. Then her mother took it. And all of a sudden, I break that chain and be like, I'm not taking it just because I took it. Or better yet, this is a better example, voting. I'm quite sure there are some family members in my family where my relatives, not family, my relatives can say that our ancestors died to vote. So our vote matter. You should vote. Because they wholeheartedly feel voting can change the world agenda to a degree. But based off what I've seen, I beg to differ. I withhold my vote each time. So that can be a clash within mythology. They hold on to mythology. They hold on to those stories because to a degree that myth soothes them. It comforts them. I redirect my comfort. My perspective changed with growth. So let's say as a teenager, I probably would have felt, I don't see the problem with voting. I don't have no problem with voting. I will vote. But as I got older and as I got wiser and as I growed and experienced certain things, I made the decision to say, what I once felt then is not the same as I feel now, especially going through different experiences and phases in life. And sometimes relatives and just people in general they can't comprehend. It's not that they can't, they won't seem to comprehend something that wasn't passed down to them. It seems like they feel like if it wasn't passed down, then they'll look at it as new and reject it. Oh, this is new. This is And I know I said I wasn't going to talk about religion as much, but I do want to say this. It's like with the book. There's different versions. When I say book, I'm talking about the Holy Bible. In Christianity, to be precise. Because it's called different names. It varies in religion. Religion has many branches. So, like for example, in Christianity, it's called the Holy Bible or the King James. In Islam, it's called the Quran. In Jerusalem, it's called the Torah. And I'm hoping I'm pronouncing it right. So, or Torah. It's one or the other. But to make my point clear, it's a part of mythology because it's evolving tradition. It's evolving stories being told. Stories of the Messiah. So, for example, I read something from the Bible once, and someone said that's not in the Bible. And I'm like, but you see, I know you see my eyes glued to this Bible. So I'm saying it in my mind because I went from to be arguing with this person, not over religion. Let me put it that way. So I realized instantly that, well, what book you reading then? And it was obviously a different version. I have the King James version, let me see, what is that called? The English Standard Version. And I have another version. Is it the New Age version? It's so many versions of the Bible, and I never knew that. So there are scriptures I can read from the English Standard Version, which is my favorite version. And a person can look at it in the King James and say, that ain't what it says. And then there go like arguments, the back and forthness, the disagreements, the debates. So that was interesting to me. I'm like, why is there different versions? That causes confusion. That can cause an uproar. Like, I eventually found out why, which I will talk about in the religion episode. However, I just want to say now that stories can change over the years. Mythology. Let me say mythology because that's what I'm going to title this episode. Mythology can change over the years. It really can. The new generations can come along and say, I don't like how they did it back then, so I'm going to try to tweak it, try to make some changes to it, make some arrangements. And then you have some people who but you have some people who argue that leave things the way it is. And this is kind of how the lady was that was talking to the guy, where she said, I don't need to know about all the world agendas. I'm sticking to what I know, to what I grew up knowing. The mythology I grew up with. I'm not willing to hear any other mythologies. I'm not willing. So the guy went on to say, because I still want to talk about the guy because he said something. Hold on. So he said, in regards to her physical preparations, absolutely. But this is about mental preparation. You need to know what's happening around you, aware of your surroundings. And he picked a scripture from the Bible. 2 Corinthians 2:11. Lest Satan should take advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. That's a part of the myth. What you don't know can hurt you. Don't let nobody make a fool of you because you're not willing to know something. Now, let me go back to the woman. She said she don't want to know nothing about no world agenda. She can easily be tricked, all because she didn't want to know. Let me see. For example, this kind of remind me of finance currency. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, because I'm big on not pronouncing this stuff. Anyway, moving forward. But this kind of remind me of finance currency, where I knew some people who was not into credit at first. A lot of things was due. They was, I wouldn't necessarily say suffering, but they was in a bind. And it was like, oh my goodness. And I'm sitting here looking like, well, if you had a credit card, that would kind of help you out in a way. You spend something till you get your money, and then you pay it back on your credit card, something like that. Just trying to be simple with it. I didn't want to use finance terminology with the person. But what this kind of remind me of? Like, we can miss out on marvelous things because of fear. Oh, I don't want to know about this. Now you sitting here, you're getting tricked because you're not familiar with this thing, and now you probably not even aware that, wow, that's what it is, because that's kind of similar to me. So let me tie this in to me to make it more personal, make more sense. So I said I never wanted to be okay, how can I put this without having it sound like a mess? How can I make this? Okay, have y'all ever heard someone say, oh, I don't see how this person can do that. I would never do that. And then they end up doing it. You just never know what happened to that person. Okay, what's an example? A personal example. That way I can make more sense. So, okay, I can use me as an example. I used to always say, I don't see how people can be so stupid and fall for certain things. Not knowing that their mythology may be different from mine, because I was a part of mythology. I was a part of a certain story, which I'm going to talk about in religion episode. I was a part of a certain story, and I'm like, this story is right, the rest of the stories is wrong. This mythology right here is right, the rest of y'all wrong. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves for even following that other bull crap. Shame on y'all. Coming to find out, the mythology I was a part of was just as much as a mess. And I was like, wow, look at me. I'm sitting here saying, oh, I could never. And I was a part I was a part of the same thing, just a different method was used, if that makes any sense to y'all. I hope y'all catch that. So, and that's what a lot of us fail to realize. We could be a part of the same agenda, just a different method, and not even know. So we have to be careful with mythology, because there may be different stories, but pay attention to the intersection. Let's see where everything meets, and question everything. So I grew up on a lot of stories that have been passed down through my culture, through tradition, through generations. So there were a lot of things that I was, what's the word I'm looking for? I was wholeheartedly standing for. I'm like, because I was taught this is right. And not even knowing what the word taught meant at the time. Because to be taught, you have to be careful. Because to be taught something, you can be brainwashed, indoctrinated into knowing something that's not even that's not even beneficial to your higher self. So you have to be careful. of what you take in. Just because it was passed down doesn't mean, I don't want to use the word right, but it doesn't mean that's the way to go in life. Just because it worked for somebody else doesn't mean it will work for you. For as mythology go on a deeper level, I can go as far as saying we all have a story that is already written. We are just the narrators of it. We just the observers of it. We just experiencing it because we are part of it. We supposed to add on to mythology, not necessarily take on somebody else's story, if that makes sense, someone else's tradition. I choose being on a mission rather than following mythology, following tradition, because I feel like the mission is greater. It's great to be equipped. It's great to be aware rather than equipped. It's best to be aware of mythology, of the different mythologies there are. However, we can't forget as individuals, we have our own story, our own myth been written as well. And it's up to you how you want it to be written. Do you want it to be copy and paste from someone else's story, or you want it to be authentic through the eye lens of your experience, your observation, rather than someone else's? That's up to you. So that's my whole point of this episode, is to address that. Like, seriously. Now, I couldn't find it was like a quote or a post that I really wanted to use, but I really feel like I touched base with what I really wanted to touch on. So I don't know if I got it from the guy from YouTube, Unedited Truth, or not. So I'm going to just say it, because I don't know if I got it from him or not. And I don't want to discredit anyone. I want to give credit when credit is due. But the post, I wish I had it, but I'm not going to sit here and waste any time either. I can check in my photo albums. Let me see if it's in there. So basically, what I remember in my mind of it is, it has something to do with stories. Oh, it could have been Dan Calloway. It could have been Dan Calloway. It has something to do with story. This ties into mythology, and that's why I'm looking for it. That is why I'm looking for it. So if I don't find it, I'm going to just rely on my memory, which I should. But see, I be forgetting stuff, y'all. That's why I don't too much rely on my memory to a certain degree. Because I do have a great memory when I'm thinking about, not thinking, but when I'm reflecting on other things, it gets clouded. So let me talk about mythology. Not mythology, see. Because I'm already talking about mythology, but that post, just based off what I can remember so far. So the post has something to do with stories. Like, he was talking about how that he this is his quotes. He said, and when I say he, I'm talking about Dan Calloway. We, as in people of my skin color that classify themselves as African Americans, he said they call themselves African Americans, but in actuality, there's strong evidence and strong proof that they really, where we are, really aboriginals of this land, Turtle Island, aka colonized America, United States of America. and he mentioned something about mythology in that. And I wish I had it, because that would have been a great example. But like I said, I'm going to see how far my memory can go with this. So bear with me, y'all. I hope I'm not rambling. But however, people can use mythology as a persuasion. There you go. Whew, that's what okay. So people can use mythology as a persuasion to follow a certain agenda, to follow a certain trait, to just fulfill someone's needs rather than your own. So that's where Dan Calloway did not say that. Now it's coming to my mind. I was looking into stocks, about finances and money and stuff like that, which I'm gonna make a whole separate video about. And it was good. And I was like, oh, and that's where I got it from. Okay. See, y'all had to work with me. Because like I said, my brain, well, I did not say this. I'm saying it now. My brain is like a computer. I have so many things stored up within my brain. And I'm just be scattered all over the place trying to make it all make sense. So boom, it wasn't Dan Calloway. It wasn't Unedited Truth. It was a Netflix series about stocks. Stock marketing. And they mentioned that people can use stories, aka mythology, as a persuasion to tie people in to stock, to get involved in it. And I'm like, if they can use mythology for that, you can basically use mythology for a lot of other things as well. For example, I'm quite sure someone that hears this podcast can say, well, a lot of pastors use religion as mind control. Like I said, religion is a synonym for mythology in a way because of the story behind whatever religion you're a part of. And people can misuse it, and it can be used as a way to control one's behavior or one's behavior, basically. Because once you control the mind, you control every other part of the body. The mind is the master of your path, of your decision making, of everything involving you. So that's just I really wanted to talk about in this episode. And there may possibly be a part 2 because I'm still learning about mythology as I go. I'm not going to fake it to you all and pretend like I know it all. This is just like the beginning of me talking about mythology because mythology is very deep. So I'm going to talk more about mythology. So just bear with me. And I hope I didn't bore you all. I don't want to say you guys because ladies listening too. So yeah, I hope I did not bore you all, and I hope I made sense. If I did not, I can look back and say, wow, I was kind of over the place. But here's a better version of me presenting mythology. But yeah, so I just wanted to touch the surface. That's basically what I did today. And plus, that was the first thing that was on my mind. Because I was like, what do I want to talk about today? Because I don't usually take notes. Once I get involved in doing an episode, boom. Now, sometimes I might have bullet points. Like when I do my episode on astrology, I'm going to have my bullet points because I really want to touch on a lot of things. In regards of there's so much to talk about. So I want to make sure I have everything decently in order with that. And with everything else that I communicate about. Especially everything. I was about to say mythology, but no, I don't want to be exclusive. I want to be inclusive and include everything that's in my grasp of knowing. So yeah, enjoy the ride. Because I'm learning with you all. So if I miss anything about mythology, or is it something I want to know about, hit me on my social media platforms. Instagram at Creeyeh, Creeyeh. Facebook, Cree-Cree Vá'Tee Official. So Cree-Cree Vá'Tee is CREE-VA'TEE. That's Cree-Cree Vá'Tee. on my Facebook. So official, Cree-Cree Vá'Tee official. And let me see. Twitter is at Crea. Same with Instagram. So Creeyeh on Twitter. Crea. You can type Cree-Cree Vá'Tee, it'll still pop up because Cree-Cree Vá'Tee is it's not the username, but it's the name under the username. So, and I don't know what that's called. So I'm not gonna pretend like I am inclined with the terms of technology because I'm not. But one thing I can say is I'm always willing to learn, so I'm gonna get it. And let me see, is there anything else before I conclude this? Let me see, because I don't want to. So yeah, that's basically everything I wanted to touch on about mythology for now. I know there's more to talk about. So yeah, just let me know anything in particular about mythology I want me to talk about, and yeah, I talk about it. So religion, usually I don't say which next episode I'm going to do, but it just makes sense to do religion next. And I'm quite sure for those who've been listening to me since August, because that's when I started doing my podcast, I know you all was like, oh, about time. There may be a part 2. So religion, because there's so much to say about religion. And there's so much I have experienced. And like I stated, I don't know what exact minute it was, but in this particular episode, I did mention that. Okay, my mind going blank. Let me resurface. I did mention that because I'm reflecting on so many things right now. That's how my brain is, y'all. It's like it really runs like a computer. So I did mention that I have a lot of experience with religion, and I did mention briefly how it ties in with mythology. So just be prepared. Brace yourselves. And this is definitely going to be trying my intelligence, rather. Testing my intelligence. Because a lot of people don't talk about religion. That's a touchy topic. A lot of people back away from it. And I don't want to back away from anything. So, yeah, I'm taking a big risk. This could make or break me. Many people can look at me as a hate. But that ain't the goal. So, the goal is to give my point of view of religion. And like I said, my purpose will remain the same from here on out. This is my firm purpose. See, I'm stuttering. So, my purpose is to heal. Therefore, healing will be in every episode that I mention. So there's going to be some healing processing all throughout that episode of religion. So stay tuned for that. It will not be offensive. Don't expect that. Because you don't heal through. Let me backtrack on that. Just be prepared. So, to conclude this episode, I just want to say, know that we all have our own individual story that's been written as we breathe. The Almighty. As we inhale and exhale, there's a story. Our story is being written. So be aware of that. And question. Am I following someone else's mythology, or am I fully embracing the one that lies before me? Through observation, through experience. There's something to reflect on. And that's note to myself. Because I've been caught up in mythology. And I've been damaged I've been through some traumatic experience to the point that I said, I'm against mythology. But I just schooled myself in the midst of speaking with you all. And that's something that I'm going to dig more deeper into. And like I said, really question myself and seek those answers by meditating. And really taking the time to listen to my inner voice, the Almighty Aliyah, and ask myself once again, am I'm embracing the mythology that lies before me through the eye lens of my own 2 eyes? Or am I looking through someone else's lenses? I can't keep repeating that enough. Whew. I can't stress that enough. I can't stress that enough. Be the owner and be the leader of your story that's been written. Don't let someone else try to rewrite it. The Almighty already have it out. Don't try to add on someone else's to yours, because someone else's way might not be your way. We all have our own individual paths that'll lead us to the same source if we allow it to. Some people get off course. But it's up to us to have that willing spirit to heal, to be open to learn, to be open to remain a student or become a student. And realize that mythology is within the beholder, not the suppressor, oppressor. So, before I leave, I want to say this. There are some people who don't care for certain stories to be written, certain stories to be heard. And that alone is enough fuel for me to keep going and not shield my tongue and speak out and tell my mythology loud and proud without feeling suppressed and feeling like someone is out to rip my vocal cords out. All because they don't like my testimony. But there are some people like that, though. There are some people that will shut certain people down, depending on the outlet that they on and who they reaching, and is it going to affect their agenda that they got going on. It's it can be a mess, but the opposite of a mess is cleanliness. So you fight back through preparation. That's how you fight back. But yeah, now I feel myself gonna go down in the rabbit hole deeper into other things. So let me pull myself back to the topic, mythology. Yeah. Be the owner. Be the master of self, not the slave, okay? Of someone else's mythology. I'm going to leave with y'all on that note. Until next time, peace. And I want to start saying this when I leave. Kaddish. I'm going to let y'all know what Kaddish means. You probably already do if you are familiar with a lot of terminology within Judaism. It doesn't have anything. My reasoning of using that term is not influenced by Judaism because I'm not a Jew. However, I'm going to break that down in another episode. So for now on, when I conclude my episodes, I would say peace and Kaddish. That's what I would leave out. That's what I would leave out with, conclude with. Just trying to expand my terminology, y'all. But I really love that word and I'm going to tell y'all why. So yeah, Kaddish.